Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. In 2025, our Hearthstone has been, well, pretty much as bad as 2024 has been, in that things have not been great. And one of the main directives we have seen all year is an attempt at a power reset in Standard. However, it has been done in a very baffling way, which has left the last two expansions nearly irrelevant in the Standard metagame, and Blizzard has put themselves into a situation where I don't really know how they get out of this anytime soon in any good way. And we're gonna go over basically every scenario that can play out and how I don't think any of them are good. And this is all because, well, we should have had the reset and rotation and it just didn't happen. And we are really feeling the ramifications of that, despite the fact that, yeah, Blizzard still seems to be intent on resetting stuff. And it's just been the most painful process ever. So we'll go into it, why it's been failing, why, again, I think it's destined to fail. And as always, if you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video likes, it helps the channel out a lot. So you look at the front page of HS Replay, nothing looks like that bad. Got top class DK 52%. It's changing quite a bit. It was Demon Hunter yesterday. At the bottom, we got Druid at 44%. So like 8% gap. That's across all ranks. Doesn't mean a lot, but basic idea is that's not too bad. We look at the meta itself. We got 4 at Diamond through Legend, that is 4 tier A decks or tier 1, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of playable decks at tier B, right? Like lots of playable stuff at C that's not quite there. Pretty much every class is represented, except other than that, it's not diverse in the fact that if you look for, let's look for Imbue and Quest decks, right? The last two expansions, we had the Emerald Dream, which was Imbue, and we have the most recent expansion of Journey into Agora, which is Quest decks. And Quest Warlock is there. That is one of the big ones that has worked out. And then if we're looking for Imbue, we have 0 decks, nothing's there. If we look for another Quest deck, we don't really have anything there. This Warrior deck is not Quest Warrior, it's Dummy Warrior. Quest Warrior is playable, it's down here with Quest Mage, but they're not top performing. Quest Paladin, everybody's favorite, not amazing, but it's kind of there. But everything else has been around for basically Great Dark Beyond or before. So we have the Great Dark Beyond with like Starships, or we have Perils of Paradise like Pain Demon Hunter, or just archetypes that are always around like Beast Hunter. That's basically been the MO, where the last two expansions haven't really hit. And we were expecting, okay, things haven't really hit that much. The last balance patch we got before the mini set, surely they're going to do something pretty big, but all we got was this comment basically saying they were happy with it where things were, right? This has been a very contentious comment, which I'm going to actually defend in one way. We're going to go over it, not the merit of it. I don't understand what they're doing, but basically what they're saying. Anyways, we've been following community discussions around the power level of Quest and appreciate everyone who's taken the time to share their thoughts. Our goal this expansion was to bring Quest closer to the level they reached in their first two appearances. That's referring to the original Ungoro and Saviors of Uldum, where the original Ungoro, the quests weren't really that good. Like we had Rogue, you had Warrior, and Mage was like off meta, Priest was off meta, and that's it. The other quests were not good like at all. And then Uldum, there were some pretty good ones, but it was mostly just Druid that really took the forefront, and Shaman early on, and then like Warlock. But again, like less than half of them were meta. So that's kind of what they're talking about. They're like, well, we're looking at things and we show there that there's a few of them that are kind of playable, but there's also 11 classes now. Back then there was only 9 for both of those expansions. Regardless, that's what they're saying, right? And this is the line that gets really taken out of context, where rather than the overperformance seen with quest lines in United and Stormwind, and I saw so many people take that comment and be like, oh my god, they said Stormwind sucked. Oh my god, they said quest lines shouldn't be used and quest lines are bad. I'm like, no, what they're saying is they just think the power level of the quests right now isn't what they wanted to see from Stormwind, where the power level was insane, right? They dictated everything, the Demon Seed, Shaman, Mage, it was insane. They're talking about power level. They're not talking about quest lines or Stormwind, which I did not enjoy Stormwind. I thought the rewards were just auto win, I could live with quest lines again as long as the rewards aren't ridiculous. I could also live with old Doom's quest where you didn't have to pay for your reward, right? You got a hero power. That was also pretty cool too. Nobody brings that one up. Regardless, yeah, there's a whole narrative shift to like crap on the team over this quest line. Stormwind comment, they're not actually crapping on Stormwind and quest lines. That's me. That's what I do. They're just saying we don't want it that power level. And yeah, it absolutely is. And it's nowhere even remotely close. And they'll continue monitoring the power level following the mini set, because I guess they were thinking the mini set would have an impact. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're going to go through the stats of the main mini set cards that are doing bad. It's insane how poor this mini set's going, but we'll go more detail on that. But you can see again, they were basically content, right? They made a nudge to Amir Driscoll. This card is still insane, and I guess you could call this a nudge, but hand buff Hunter has fallen off, so not so much a nudge. But that has been the word I've been using for a while, because that is, again, I feel like the major problem. First off, with this power reset, right? They've been obviously lowering the power level of cards being introduced to the game, but in order for them to land at a lower power level, they need to not compete against broken stuff or more powerful stuff. So they nerfed a lot of things. We've seen probably over 100 balance changes over the past year. However, I want to use as an example of a deck that is basically symbolic of how not to do a power reset in terms of nerfing a deck, and that is Cycle Rogue. We have talked about Cycle Rogue so much. It is back to being a competitive deck again, right? And this deck has been in some form or another meta, either tier 1 or tier 2 in standard for years now. It's just a rotating thing, because, well, first off, step and prep are always the part that fuels it. Yes, the stats on the cards aren't the best because, well, they combo with other cards. So the cards they combo with are always going to stand out more. There's a lot more nuance to prep and step stats than you would think, but they're both negative mana. They're the only negative mana cards in all of standard, and they're only for rogue, meaning you spend 0 mana to gain even more mana, right? No other card outside of Innervate, right, gives you 1 mana, does that in Druid, and they both do that ×2. So it kind of, exemplifies a big issue with the archetype itself, but that's not even my point. My point is the nudges, right? They never kill these decks outside of, a good example would be Murmur. That card was outright reworked. It was problematic. It kept popping up. So they actually killed the damn thing. They reworked it. Narrowlax was, well, it's seeing play now, but I feel like it's fine in the way it's being used, other than Rogue being gross with it. But yeah, they reworked that so that it fundamentally changed how that worked. But if we look at Cycle Rogue, what really changed? Well, they nudged Playhouse Giant to be a turn later, basically. They nudged Everything Must Go so it could be tutored as well. They nudged Incendious to 7. They nudged Everburning Phoenix, right? They actually did rework this card, but the rework ended up being a buff. So it just didn't work out very well, but it ended up being a nudge. They nudged Webweaver from 1 to 2 mana, and as a result, yes, the deck is worse, but it's nudges. And when you have that many nudges, and all it takes is for this card, Crystal Tusk, to be introduced, and all of a sudden, again, this deck is better than any of the newer stuff, you kind of see the problem. If you're just doing a bunch of minor changes, which is what they typically do on balance patches, right? They're typically +1 mana, or Wilted Shadow, -1 attack, right? That's not going to help you reset power level. And that's why you need to do it at rotation. So if you don't have the cojones, you don't feel people will accept absolutely gutting basically every main archetype in the game until it's at the level of the lower stuff. If you're not going to do that, you have to let rotation do that by letting those cards leave. And that's not what they're doing. They're trying to do it in mid-year, which is just baffling. And it's led to outcries and outcries and outcries for, can we get more powerful cards? Can we get buffs? There's the other option. Do we just buff everything to insanity, where we have seen a buff work out pretty well, right? Quest Warlock being top tier, but I'm already seeing so many complaints about it, and it's a really not interactive thing. Getting that portal, infinite damage, infinite stats, it's very linear. Like, is that the way to go? So that's kind of a contrast where, yeah, maybe they buff every quest deck to be like Quest Warlock, where you can complete it by turn 4 and play it that turn almost, right? Like, that's pretty silly at the end of the day if you think about it. So those are like the two main things they could do now. Neither are great. I feel like neither makes, basically there's two sides to everything. There's the side that wants everything to be insane, and there's the grumpy old men like me that want things to slow down so we can get more value, get some more, I don't know, to me, value board trading fun in Hearthstone that typically happens when things are slower. So you're gonna piss off one side or the other. And then the other thing, which is what they appear to be doing, which is also pretty no-win situation, is have another low impact expansion on the last one of the year. Then when rotation hits, you have the 3 strong expansions of the Starship stuff, Perils of Paradise, Whizbang, rotate. Then you have 3 relatively weaker expansions. All of a sudden, they are the top dog in the meta, and then the next expansion, next rotation, can maybe push things a bit more. But here's where the problem is. This is where it's a lose-lose. If they do that, first off, I feel like people are going to quit. I already see numbers going down. It's not great. Second, are people really going to be excited that next March or April or whatever, when rotation happens, that yes, I could finally play my Imbue deck that has been sitting in my collection for a year? It's old news at that point. Even though I didn't get to really play it, it's still a year of wasted like content, right? And then the same for quests. Or will the quest just be better than Imbue, and then Imbue is still not playable? And then the other thing that they could do, let's say they don't do that. Only the last expansion to be bad. They just go crazy with the next expansion. Like, okay, people aren't liking the lower power level. We make this last set insane, right? And then it's really good, and maybe people like it. Then what was the last 2 expansions about? Why did we just waste everybody's time, everybody's money on buying packs and dusting and doing all this stuff to craft 2 useless expansions because we just said, screw it, we'll just put out something way better anyways? Like, there's just, I feel like, no winning spot. They have put themselves in such a bind that I don't know how they get out of it. Like, you buff everything, there's going to be a lot of people upset. You nerf everything, there's going to be a lot of people upset. You let everything stay low power level till rotation, you risk people leaving and still not caring when it happens, or you just, like, again, have the power level go up next set, then you just wasted, what, 8 months of our time with 2 lower power expansions to reset everything? I guess you could accompany it with a bunch of buffs too, but that seems like a nightmare and a half too. So at the end of the day, I feel like this has been the worst implemented power reset strategy ever. Like, it just doesn't have, to me, a logical path to follow, one that won't be a disaster, one that won't piss a lot of people off. And I guess I'm very thankful that I'm not in charge of any of this, because I have no idea how to navigate this, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Like, what should they do? Like, this is such a bizarre situation where we just had a mini set come out, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. There's like 2 cards that have a positive drawn win rate. Like, out of all of them, like, they're basically unplayable. Like, is that just gonna stay until next year? Or like, what's gonna happen? It's a wild one. And again, I've never seen anything like this in Hearthstone's history ever. Rostikud's Rumble wasn't even like this. It was nothing like this. It's so crazy. And yeah, I have no idea what they're gonna do, but believe me, I'll be reporting on it. We'll be talking about it, and ultimately we'll eventually find out what they're gonna do. I don't know if they know what they're gonna do, but we'll find out. And yeah, stay tuned tomorrow. We'll talk about the mini set, and its stats are pretty darn crazy. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.